Right, I'm just going to set it to record now. And if you're up for it, we'll just get straight into it, shall we?
Let me just sort my backdrop out. Okay, perfect. Off we go.
Perfect. Well, in the age of reality TV, talent shows are the bedrock of light entertainment. But in 1987, you won the, well, let's say the X Factor of its day, Stairway to the Stars. Now, how did this offer you a springboard to launch your career? And what are your memories of the great Larry Grayson?
Oh, yeah. 87, pivotal moment of my life. Yeah. I worked at the hospital for 32 years. You remember, Will, Josh, I worked there from 68. And it was during that time I got involved in pantomimes and producing and directing. Never wanted to be on stage. I had no ambition to be on stage. Then somebody drops out and you end up having to go on there because you know the part, you know the role. And I found I loved it when I got on there. It took me by surprise in a way. And then, of course, I come off stage and then a nurse whose name it's difficult to forget. She's called Abigail Todd. But she insisted on being called Abby. Call me Abby. I won't be called Abigail. And then she didn't realise for a minute that she was now called Abby Todd. And, and she said to me those immortal words, you're really funny. You should be a comedian. I'm a big fan of comedy. You should. And like an idiot, I sort of believed her for no reason. And then I went off doing the talent show, as you say, and I won. There was a heat at Scarborough Opera House. It's not there now, it's a World of Wicker. And I went over there to do it, and I won that. And I ended up in, as you said, the wonderful Stairway to the Stars in Torquay. And imagine I got to the final, imagine that I've just come from a hospital environment, like an ordinary environment, and I'm now being judged, if you like, by the great Larry Grayson, Nina Mishkoff, Buster Merrifield, the brilliant Buster Merrifield, and Dora Bryan, one of the best ever comedians. And I won it. Just unbelievable. And immediately you think, I'm a star, it's ridiculous. So then I had to come back up to the Northern Club Circuit because if we're talking 87 and there were no, what they call alternative, I hate tags, but no alternative clubs. And so I had to do the Wicked Men's Clubs. And that brought me back down to earth rapidly, But having done that, I sort of picked up a lot of little hints and ideas for when we started writing Phoenix Nights together. So, but there were strange days in the Wicked Men's Clubs.
So I bet you were humbled pretty quickly going back into that environment.
I'll tell you the most humbling part. So I was doing this gig and it was in Wigan, I was waiting to go on, and the guy went on, and he was a real Brian Potter. He was a real typical concert secretary, and he calmed the crowd down. They'd had the bingo and all that, and he said, "Right, now then, listen, look, we've got an announcement from the committee." He said, "Now we've had complaints from the members, serious complaints, hurtful complaints, incorrect complaints about the committee misappropriating funds. And I'd like to put that to rest because we haven't. And they're very hurtful. People have been saying we've been misspending your money and fees and funds and that. And it's just wrong. So all these allegations have got to stop. One allegation after another, and they've got to stop. So we're having a meeting on Wednesday night and we want all the alligators at that meeting." Right. And then he said, and I'm waiting to come on. So he said, anyway, the one thing that has hit home with us really is the fact that you said we're not spending enough money on your cabaret on a Saturday night. And to be fair, we've had a discussion, and you're correct. We have shortchanged you on the cabaret scene on a Saturday night. We've cut what we've been paying the acts and the artists. We've gone back to the original agents, and so you'll not be getting any more rubbish acts on a Saturday night. We can guarantee you that. But that's for next week, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Dave Spikey.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, you want it? You want to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a sitcom sort of scenario Josh has just said.
Well, it was. It became part of Phoenix, and it became part of Phoenix. It could be a real scene for that series, yeah.
And we'll get on to Phoenix Nights in a minute, but you were briefly in a double act with Rick Sykes, which culminated in an appearance on New Faces in 1992. What do you think is the secret of a great double act?
Oh, well, you know, we've just lost one of the best ones ever in Cannonball. Bobby Ball passed. And I was lucky enough, I mean, I'm fortunate enough, blessed enough to work with one of my first ever gigs in comedy ever was supporting Cannonball on tour. And, you know, it's a chemistry. You've got to have that chemistry. It's got to be believable. It can't appear scripted. It's got to be completely normal banter. And they're few and far between the really good double acts. We sort of went the other way, me and Rick, Spikey and Saki. I think we were still, I might say myself, I think we still had something to offer, but it was very scripted. But I think the best double acts are just like mates have bantering on stage, and you know, and a false antagonism, a false friction between them, and finding fault with each other and bouncing off one another. It's very difficult. But Cannonball had it in spades. He had a rare gift, Bobby. It's that secret of being made the straight man making the like the comedian, if you like, making them feel vulnerable, and the audience siding with them, and then them fighting back. It's like a banter, constant banter between them. But then I always remember that Bobby and Tommy always used to finish off by singing "Wind Beneath My Wings," and you are the wind beneath my wings, and it's just, you need that element of poignancy as well. You need that element of emotion between them.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you first met Peter Kay in 1996. What were your first impressions of the guy?
I'd won this thing called the Northwest Comedian of the Year, which was a big deal. I mean, the year before me, for instance, Caroline Aherne won it. God bless her, genius. And then it was, and subsequently, I think Jason Manford won it as well. And it was a sort of tradition that subsequently a winner would host a final in the future. So I was hosting this, as you say, in that whatever year it was. I forgot, 96 was it? I met Peter. And I was hosting the final, and I just got there on. I didn't know who was in the final. I was just turned up on the night, and there were 10 acts, and Johnny Vegas was in it, who's an old mate now, and he was the favourite. And then Agraman, who organised it all. You might know John Marshall, who's a great promoter of comedy. Agraman, the Human Anagram, which is quite a genius line. He said, "Oh, there's a young lad here." He said he's in the bar there. He's been here for ages. He's bit nervous. He said he's from Bolton. Do you know him, Peter Kay? So I went in and had a chat before the gig, got on very well. And then they'd make a draw who goes on where. And Peter got drawn like 10th out of 10. And oh, what a shame. He's only ever done about 3 gigs. And he's gonna die on his backside going on last to a drunken crowd in a final. So it all goes on. It's all going nice and well, ups and downs. Johnny Vegas goes on and storms it in a really good position, about 6th out of 10. He's nailed on, no problem. And I remember and I went on, and Peter always reminds me of this, because we were running way over time, and people were tired and drunk, and I just went on and I went, calm down, trying to calm them down. There's only one left. That was my introduction. So I said, there's only one left, young lad from Bolton, blah, 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 Peter Kay. And he came on, and from the moment he came on, he owned the stage at a young age, and in those circumstances. And you just stand there going, you know straight away when somebody's got something that bit special. And at one thing, he just sat on the edge of the stage trying to calm down, but just chatting to them and just running around and doing daft stuff that like kids do at weddings. You've probably seen him do that. And he just got them. And it was an amazing thing to see. And I mean, the judges afterwards, we had the conflict. They were, what do you think? Well, there's nothing to think. There's nothing to think. There's only one winner. There's only one, potential star here. Well, I got it wrong. There's Johnny Vegas, obviously, but Peter was the one, and you knew straight away. Yeah,
a clear outlier, isn't it? Well, in '97, you secured a hosting role on the game show Chain Letters, following in the footsteps of Jeremy Beadle and Ted Robbins. Now, how significant was it to have your own TV vehicle?
It was a massive step up. It was very, very scary because I was still at the hospital. I just 2 weeks holiday. It was hard work. Peter actually wrote some links for me on that. It's one of the first times we got together writing with some other mates. And it was 5 shows a day, and there was no auto cue, and it was pressure. So it was a big learning curve as well. But yeah, in terms of like television's the be all and end all. You've just got to get your face on television. I think I could have done it better. I think it was okay. I did 5 shows a day for like 10 days or something like that. And you can always look back and say, well, I should have handled that a bit better. But it was a precious situation. And you get the same audience for 2 shows and the same audience for 3 shows. And when they've seen 1 show, they've had enough, basically. Yeah. And that's how I got the gig. I was the warm-up. I was the warm-up man for the Chain Letters. And then I was propelled into the spotlight. The producer must have seen something. And it was great at the time. It was absolutely great at the time. But when I look back at it now, I do sort of cringe a little bit and think I could have done better. But under the circumstances and still having the day job to go back to afterwards, it was a big, to be recognised as well, and to see some producer thinks you've got some talent enough to do it. So it was a big deal.
That's good. Well, you won the Best Newcomer Award at the British Comedy Awards as well. And what effect did this have on the direction of your career?
It just, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's all a blur really, because you just do it and you do your best you can, and then the awards come up. I didn't actually win the Best Newcomer. I was nominated for the Best Newcomer at the British Comedy Awards, and I lost it to Chris Marshall out of My Family, and then obviously Death in Paradise and things like that. But it was funny because I was nominated for it, and Johnny Vegas, by coincidence, loads of coincidences, he was announcing the awards, and I was sat on the front table, and he said the nomination for the Best Newcomer, blah blah blah. Anyway, Dave Spikey, and he just looked down at me and winked. And I thought, oh, I've won it, and all the audience laughed, and then he opened it and went, what? Just got it completely wrong, but no. I mean, you just take it in your stride, really. I mean, I know it sounds a bit twee, but I worked in the hospital. I've sort of it's getting your priorities right, really. I suppose it was good. I suppose it helped a lot, but I just carried on with it, really. And then Phoenix ran its course, and then I was lucky enough to. I suppose it opened doors in terms of like getting my scripts looked at after that, because I had a couple of things on telly after that maybe I might have struggled a bit to do without that recognition. I don't know.
They're quite brave, aren't they? The amount of times they asked Johnny to do the nominations and that, you never quite knew what was going to happen when you watched Johnny on stage in those scenarios. Go on. Josh said he reckons Johnny might be the reason it was axed, because in the last year that it was on, he was on there for a bit too long. It was a bit over the top, and I think they were regretting having him on at that point. But that's your opinion.
Oh, well, Johnny is Johnny, and I think he's, if you're talking about real comedy greats, it's people who just go by the seat of the pants, who just improvise and extemporize all the time. He's right up there. And he was in, just following on from that, of course, one of the series I got was, that I wrote, was Dead Man Weds, which is about a newspaper office. And of course, cast Johnny straight away as the idiot reporter. I thought, I need an idiot reporter, Johnny, obviously. So he was brilliant in that. But that was fun, filming with Johnny on set for 6 weeks.
Crikey, I bet it was. Moving on to your writing, in 2001, you wrote and starred in an episode of That Peter Kay Thing, entitled In the Club. Now, how did you use your experience as a budding entertainer to perfect the character of Jerry Sinclair?
Yeah, well, I love this series. Again, the three of us wrote it. People tend to forget that, like me, Peter, and Neil Fitzmaurice wrote that series as well. And In the Club was just one of them, as you say, the one that I was in. It was an amalgamation. I grew up in that environment. My dad took me to the working men's clubs. I sort of knew those people. But what we did was, Peter and I, we went round, only because we lived like close together, we went all to all the local working men's clubs and just talked to them, and we went to club committees. We got invited to meetings. We went to the cabaret nights just to refresh our memories, really. And of course, I'd come back from Search for a Star and worked the working men's club circuit for about a year as well. So it's just picking up those little idiosyncrasies, just picking up those little notes, because everywhere we went, they had funny stories to tell us, things that had happened in that club. And they were funny stories, but it's not what we were after. We were after like the realism of it and just the nuances of the characters. And we picked up loads and loads of stuff from there. But we sort of knew that world, and Peter knew that world because, you know, my dad, my mum and dad used to social club every Saturday night when I was growing up. So I used to go later on. And I think it's all about, you've got the situation, but also got the comedy of just getting the characters right and picking the right characters who go in these clubs and getting the right mix of them. And I think that was the secret, and using the real audience. So we filmed everything on stage during the day, over 2 days, and then on the next night we actually got that club, St Gregory's Club in Farnwood. We got that audience in, turned the cameras on them, and did the same show to them, and got real reactions from real people, you know. So there was all sorts of elements of experience and research that went into it.
You were thinking of something then? I just thought. Josh says one of his favourite bits from Phoenix Nights was the bouncy castle incident. How did you get away with that? How did you come up with the idea for that?
Well, we got the idea. I think we just read about something similar somewhere, and so we had this idea of it being one of the sets. And he actually says, doesn't he, at one stage, the Bernard Wrigley's character who brought it in, who's another Bolton comedian, he actually says, "Oh, it's one of the sets. Do you want to see the other one?" And you just have to imagine what the other one is, basically. You know? But yeah, we did have that. But this, I mean, it's classic, isn't it? Just, and a lot of it on the day just sort of improvised as well. It's a 10-foot cock and balls, man.
It's just the snake on his legs.
Yeah. And young Kenny says, we maybe can disguise it. And Brian Potter says, "Yeah, we'll put a bob hat on it and say it's you." No, it's just I mean, you can't go wrong as soon as you've got that. And of course, when Jerry's on stage later on, dressed as a giant berry, like I left the hospital on Friday the 13th, 2000, as I was a senior chief biomedical scientist in haematology, and I hung my white coat up, I switched my microscope off, and I walked out on a national health career of 32 years. And the week after, I'm on stage, dressed as a giant berry, with his 20-foot cock and balls inflating behind me, thinking, was this a good career move or was it?
Where did it all go wrong? Well, like so many of Britain's best-loved sitcoms, I mean, such as Steptoe and Son, Porridge, Open All Hours, Phoenix Nights started life as a one episode from a series of 6 different pilots.
Yeah.
Why do you think that this formula has produced so many successful sitcoms?
I don't know what formula. Which
so, like I'll let Josh elaborate. He's just come back to speak. Josh said, like old comedy Playhouse, where you'd have.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, you've got selection, haven't you? Really, basically, and so we had obviously in the club we had one about an ice cream man. We had the oldest paper boy in Britain. We had the bingo hall. Yeah, you're right, and so I think it gives you a massive choice there. But then you look at the one that's got most potential in terms of like recurring stories, new characters, new people being able to come into it and interact with the established characters and stuff. But yeah, it's I mean, I did a thing called Magnolia for BBC Comedy Playhouse, about some pastors and decorators, but I just wrote the one. So it meant the comedy players was a great idea, because then you got different teams or different single writers writing all along. Of course, it's obviously it's difficult what commissioners are looking for at the time. So if you present them with a selection, chances are they're going to pick out one that fits, sort of thing. Not always the best fit, but that's how it goes.
That's how they get there, yeah. In what ways did Phoenix Nights help with the rediscovery of the phenomenon of working men's clubs, which, you know, have been responsible for creating so many comedy stars throughout the generations?
Well, I think it was massive, really. I think people have sort of forgotten they were there in a way, and they had declined. They were in decline, but what people tend to forget is that they weren't just entertainment venues, were they? They were like, you know, especially around our way. I'm sure we're not unique. I'm sure it's the same countrywide. People tend to think they're a northern phenomena, but they're not, are they? Everywhere's got British Legions and conservative clubs and you name it. But they're more than that. They're so important because people do a hard week's work, and then just need to get together with the mates and have a couple of drinks and have a chat and go midweek for various functions. And so the community centres, the entertainment is almost incidental. They're just the hub of the community where people can come and exchange ideas and have a chat and and get dressed up to do it on a Saturday and Friday night and have some cabaret. It's so important, and I think maybe people it maybe reawaken that memory in people. I don't know.
Made them more popular again, I think, perhaps. The relationship between Brian Potter and Jerry became one of the most enduring aspects to the series. How enjoyable was it to play out?
It was. I had to audition for Jerry because I'd never acted before. Get away. Fifth might say. But I sort of knew Jerry. Jerry was an amalgam of all the club comics, club compers, club vocalists that I've ever seen, and we saw on our travels. And I suppose you got it right wherever you are in the country. People say, "Oh, that Jerry St. Clair, you based him on our compere at British Legion, didn't you? You based him on our compere at whatever conservative club." He was your quintessential compere, and I think again, it's like Step 2 and Son, like we mentioned before with Cannon and Ball. If you get like that little that relationship where underlying is respect and a little bit of togetherness between the two of them, but all the time they're bickering and bantering like an old married couple basically, and then sort of second guessing in the argument what they're going to say, what you come back at them, and then right at the end Brian Potter always trumps him. Brian Potter's in control. Jerry thinks he's getting his own, Brian Potter trumps him, and it's like getting that relationship.
Now, moving on from there, in 2005, you joined forces with Jimmy Carr and Sean Locke for 8 out of 10 Cats. Now, panel shows are notoriously difficult to perfect, but what do you think it was about the format and the dynamics between you all that proved so popular?
I knew as soon as I got asked to go and do the pilot, and I knew as soon as I did it because it was at the time it was different to all of the panel shows. It didn't take itself too seriously. Obviously, it's got genius comedy on it. Jimmy Carr is a brilliant host. Sean is phenomenal and is just off the wall and left field, comments and ideas. And I used to have to. I think I was the ballast. I think they put me in as like just steadying the ship and just telling stories basically, because I used to have to. It took me all week. It's completely took over my life in terms of like, because your first half of the program is all about topical news, what's going on in the news this week, and so you have to identify what stories were going to come up. It wasn't fixed. We didn't know until the day of recording what we're going to be given or what we're going to be in the top 5. And so I'd be sitting researching, trying to think of funny comments and funny, ways of looking at current topical news stories and stuff. Whereas Sean Locke you just think of them like that. So I found it very, very difficult. But maybe I was like I don't know, not the straight man, but I was like the solid, just churn stuff out.
Yeah, almost like the glue holding it together.
Well, not so much that, but just like I was just the one they could just turn to for a, I don't know, same as I'm doing myself down here. But, I was like not the straight man in the comedy act, but just I was the one that reliably would come out with a funny story, if you like.
But you need that as well, because you couldn't have two Sean Locks on the show, because it would water it down, or you couldn't have two Jimmys on the show, because again it would just be the focus on them. You do need, like you say, that straight man in there as well.
Yeah. But there was an amazing show, because like you could get anybody on it, and we had sportsmen on it, newscasters on it. We had like American. I was on the same. She was on my team twice. John Rivers was on my side. John Rivers, I'm like sat next to John Rivers because of this show. I took my autobiography of hers down because she is one of my absolutes. If you've never read John Rivers' autobiography, and I just was in awe of her, and I just pulled it out from underneath the table during one of the breaks and just went, "Can you sign that for me, John?" But yeah, some brilliant people on it. And going back to what you're saying, the secret, I think, was nobody took it too seriously. Nobody's bothered about winning. What is difficult about it, in a way, is that everybody's on there to do well, obviously, but sort of you're not competing against the other team half the time. You're competing against yourself. You're competing against Jimmy. You're trying to top that. It's not them against us, in a way. It's some of your team are trying to top you. If you come up with a comment, they'll think of something funny to say and they'll come in. It's not just them against us, which I think is early on, which made it really popular.
Yeah, I think that was the secret behind its success, because it was so different,
So that it was over the BBC. The people,
and Josh said, before 8 out of 10 Cats, it was always the BBC that sort of were the kings of the panel shows. And obviously, Cats took that pretty quick. Moving on to more recent years, in 2017, you appeared as a self-obsessed businessman, Mr. Gruff, in British romantic comedy film Finding Fatima. How significant was this film in highlighting the British Asian culture?
Oh, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Because it's so important to do that. The talent there is absolutely amazing. And I went down and it was like, totally produced and financed and packaged up by the Asian community down there, and just it's brilliant. It was a great opportunity for me. I only had like about, I think it was 1 or 2 scenes in it, 2 or 3 scenes in it, but obviously we need to see more and more and more, because the talent there, and we've seen it in stand-up comedy, we've seen it in sketch comedy as well. We need more and more of it, because they're very, very, very naturally talented people.
Yeah, there's a lot more. It's really nice to see in the last decade, should we say, a lot more diversity coming through in comedy. So that, even I can't remember. I'm gonna hate myself for not remembering her name now. But there's the young lady with cerebral palsy that does stand-up comedy, and she was on. Whose show was it? Jonathan Ross's latest comedy show that was on. She did a bit.
Oh yeah, I missed that. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah. No, there's so if you disabled comics, everyone's getting their sort of chance now, and it's fantastic.
Taking too long, hasn't it? It really has taken too long. I don't know why.
Yeah. But it's nice to finally see everything's moving in the right direction. And also in 2017, you celebrated 30 years in the business with a nationwide tour called Juggling on a Motorbike. Now, why did you decide on this title?
Right. Okay. So I wish I could have shown you. But I've not got my stuff.
Never.
I can't think what it. No, because when I won Stairway to the Stars, which was pivotal, as I say, because if I hadn't won it, I'd have probably just gone back to the hospital. Would I carried on with the comedy? I probably would have done, but maybe not with as much enthusiasm initially. So I won the Stairway to the Stars, and Larry Grayson, I'm having a drink with the great, the legend, and he was remarkable, this man, with his Tales of Variety. And I just sat there enthralled by him all night. And he came over for a chat, and I'm unbelievable. And he said, he said, Dave, that was very inventive. It's not what we used to, and with comedians. And I'm trying to be a bit different than that. And he said, no, it was very close, but what won it for you was that routine you did about the juggler on the motorbike. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, right. He said, no, we've never seen really anything like that. And it was just so clever. And I said, oh, right, okay. So when I was celebrating 30 years, I had to reflect on that and think, well, maybe I wouldn't be here 30 years later if I hadn't done that juggler on a motorbike in that act. I decided not to do it on the night, and I haven't won it, and etc. So I thought it only right to call the tour the Juggling on a Motorbike tour.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
it's a nice nod to where it all began.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And well, looking back at your career, what is your proudest achievement?
I've been so lucky. I mean, I had 32 years. I loved my time in the NHS. I absolutely loved it, and I loved haematology. I loved working in the background in the laboratories there. But from the comedy point of view, I've just been so lucky. One thing's led to another. I know you make your own luck in a lot of cases, but I suppose so. Royal Variety Show would be up there. I did the Royal Variety Show in front of the Queen. I did Parkinson with Paul McCartney, who's one of my absolute heroes because animal rights and vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 30 odd years. But weirdly, I think probably it would be, I'll tell you what it would be. When Phoenix Nights finished, it gave me the opportunity. We were talking before about television giving you a boost. It gave me the opportunity to take a tour, take my show on tour in the UK. So I hadn't even got an agent. So I got myself an agent, Comedy Store, who championed me quite a lot through the years, and put this tour together called Overnight Success Tour because I've been at it for all this time. So, and I had the material because I've been working the circuit since 1987, and I left in 2000, and Phoenix Nights finishing in 2002. So anyway, so I took this on tour at the same time that Peter took his Mum Wants a Bungalow tour out. Yeah. And so we both played very similar theatres, which was quite a thrill. And then Manchester Evening News have a massive big theatre awards event every year, and they have best comedy, best opera, best ballet, best. You get the picture. And right at the end, they have best show in town. That's voted for by the readers and the theatre goers of Manchester. So all the came and went. And Peter won best comedy show in town for Mum's Got a Bungalow tour. And so by then I've had a few. So they went, okay, best show in town. I'm talking, and my wife goes, bang, what? You? And I went, no, what? And I had to go, and my show won the best show in town, voted by theatre goers and the Manchester Evening News, above every other show in Manchester that year. And I wish I'd have remembered it because I got on stage, hammered. Great, But no, I suppose that was after all those years and working my way through with no plan, just following my nose and just being lucky, I suppose, and Peter and Phoenix and that, and it was just an absolutely amazing thing to have this award for me in a way. And you know what I mean? All the work I put in sort of sounds a bit pretentious, but yeah, that would be it.
Nice to get a recognition.
Yeah.
Well, what was it like?
So one of Josh's heroes is Parkinsons. So he's just asked, what was it like to appear on Parkinson?
Oh, Josh, mate, it was, when you're watching telly, and you see Parkinson on and they walk down those stairs, don't they? Well, I'm getting goosebumps. And I'd never thought I'd be on there. And the weird thing was, I'd done the Royal Variety Show the week before, and Perky was one of the hosts on the road. So I met him then, and he settled me down, and I went on. It was iconic, wasn't it? And when I got there, and I found out I'm on with Keira Knightley and Paul McCartney, And the great thing about Parkinson is not just him, because, you know, he sets you up. He's the consummate interviewer, isn't he? Where they do a bit of research with you, and he knows which way to go and what to pick up on, and give you the best, you know, the best platform on which to show your talents. It's just awesome to be sitting there in that chair. And quick story then. So the great thing with Parkinson is once you've done your little bit, because I'm on first, obviously, is you stay on. You don't see you later. So you stay on. And so Keira Knightley comes on. I'm chatting with Keira Knightley, because in between takes, there's quite a bit of dead air. And then Paul McCartney comes on and we talk. He was on actually to promote some animal rights issue in Europe. I can't remember what it was. So we were talking about that. And Michael Parkinson said to me beforehand, he said, I'm going to ask Paul to just give us a song. And he said, Paul always says, I need my favourite guitar here. And so he's very reluctant to do that. I said, but I've got his guitar here. Don't worry about that. I've got it sorted. He said, but then he quite often comes up with the fact that he's not got his plectrum. He needs a particular plectrum for this guitar. So I've got the plectrum. So you hold that, right? So can you believe this? So we get to that point, and there's been a great interview, and he says to Paul, so give us a bit of a song, will you? And he says, I can't, I need my guitar. I mean, it's a long time ago, so this is like sort of ad-lib.
Yeah,
sort of. So he said, I've got your guitar, and he gives him a guitar, and so Paul McCartney goes, but you see, I need the plectrum. And I went, Paul, got your plectrum. Like that. So he goes, okay. And then he played Blackbird singing in the, me and Paul, Blackbird singing in the, he only played about, I think, 2 or 3 lines of it. But it was just what the whole thing. What an experience! Parkinson was the best. Yeah.
That's incredible. Finally, what's next for what is next for you?
I'm still touring. I'm not at the moment with the COVID. I postponed my tour for this year. I moved it from spring to autumn. No, I've moved it all from autumn to spring next year, and I've just moved up until April, May, again to autumn next year. So it's there. I've done it about 2 or 3 times. It's called A Funny Thing Happened, which it did. In brackets, I shot Derek Rigby. As a friend of mine, Derek Rigby, and I shot him. And that's essentially the story, because I think that's a funny thing. He didn't, but so it's a story about that. But it's a story about how funny things happen all the time, and we don't really clock them, or we don't really appreciate them, and it's our job as comedians to embellish and expand them and whatever. So it's all about funny things that happen without us really knowing, just on normal things. And so that's been put back now till, I think my first one's in Wakefield in April, just before Easter. But who knows? I just did 2 socially distanced ones in Lytham, which were really weird, because and I should have thought it out really, because I mean, it was sold out, but they were all spaced all over the place. But they all had masks on, and I never really thought. I thought once you've sat down, you can take your mask off, but you can't. So playing to an audience masked up was quite an experience. But it went well. It went all right.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, have you got any more questions, Josh? That's all the ones we've got written down. Yeah, no, that's Josh just said that was brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Josh said he likes interviewing comics because you don't have to tease it out of them, you know.
Right.
You know you're going to get good material, you're going to get good content straight away with a comedian. So yeah, we really appreciate that today, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for thanks for the invitation.
When it goes live, you'll let them know. Yeah. So Josh will let you know when it goes live once we've edited it.
Perfect.
And he'll send you all the links as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Thanks, lads.
Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it, mate.
Welcome. See you later. See you, Josh. All the best, mate.